had the ability to play music right now with this streaming, I would be playing music, but no, my phone won't do two things at once. Eastbound 20 between Waterloo and Dubuque, whatever, on the border with Wisconsin. That's the first car I've seen it going my way in a while. What I like about out here is there are no lights. There's no town. There's no nothing out here. It's kind of cool. I spent the entire weekend in Waterloo because the John Deere factory does not unload vehicles on the weekend until the third shift comes in. Blah. So I spent Saturday and Sunday sitting around until I could drop here at about 8 o'clock local. But I like driving at night, and I like driving at night when there's nothing around. You said there's no town out here, there's no lights, it's just dark. I enjoy this. Of course, this guy just passed me. I'd be running high beams right now, but I can't. Oh, here comes some civilization. If you're just jumping on board, I am driving between Waterloo, Iowa, and Dubuque. That's how you pronounce it, on the Wisconsin border, straight eastbound. What I enjoy about this, until just now, there is no light out here. There's no people, there's no civilization. It's just nice. And I enjoy this because it's calm. Given the option, I would drive at night all the time. It's calmer and there's less traffic. When I went cannonballing back a few years ago, I did the cannonball across the United States. It's easier and it's harder to cannonball at night because there's less cars on the road, makes it easier, but there were no cars on the road, and I was doing triple digits continuously, and the police, I'm running radar, I'm running all the equipment, but when the police are out there, bang, they can flip their radar on and off. And if there's a few cars on the road, they'll be blasting those cars as they go by, and you can catch a whiff of the radar in the distance. But if you're the only car on the road, you're out there with your pants around your ankles. And I was, come to think of it, it was Iowa. I was cutting through Iowa in the middle of the night, only car on the road, doing triple digits, had the car pegged, and my radar detector went from quiet to full blast morning, which means he flipped instant on and hit me. And the car I used for the cannonball was a Volkswagen Bug. I'm a Bug fan, by the way, big time Bug fan. And for some strange reason, radar reflection comes off, hits whatever, and gives a feedback. And the smaller the target, the smaller the return. It's just the way it is. And for some reason, darker colored vehicles for police radar are less reflective than bright colored, like white cars. Again, I don't know why. That's just how that works. But when I was cannonballing, I had a Bug, turbo Bug. It's black. It has a plastic front end. And the number one reflective item on a car from the front is the license plate. And by mere happenstance, the license plate on that car fell off, and I found it in the trunk when I got to California. But I was traveling at Mach speeds across Iowa in the middle of the night, and my radar detector goes full blast, and I had my high beams on. I was the only car on the road, minus that radar hit. And if you get hit with a radar and you're running high beams and you instantly flip them off, you are advertising. You're advertising that you're running radar. And you don't want to do that. So I left my high beams on, took my foot off the gas, grabbed the parking brake, held the button down, and I pulled it up under my armpit and as hard as I could. And a combination of the lack of license plate on the front of the vehicle. And I think I might have been a teeny bit out of range. He didn't, the cop that hit me with the radar didn't get a good hit, so he waited about 3 seconds and he blasted me again. And the reason I didn't slam on the brakes but pulled on the brake handle is when you hit the brakes, the front end of the car nosedives, and they can see that. And your brake, it's nighttime, your brake lights come on, and they see that. They see you slamming on the brakes. So I left the high beams on, grabbed the parking brake, pulled it up under my armpit, and dragged the car down. I believe the speed limit there was 75, and by the time he got a feedback, I was going about 75. And my pulse was racing because I'm all outfitted. And I went past, I finally saw him sitting on the side of the road, and I went past him. And he didn't pull out, and I went, cool. And I went over the rise of the next hill and pulled the trigger and wound the car up to it had a governor on it, which sucked. So the car was limited to 115 miles an hour, and bugs will do 130. I've owned a fleet of them. They'll do 130 pretty confidently, and that's really governor. But apparently Avis, because it was a rental car, quiet. Apparently Avis puts governors on their cars. I didn't know that until it was too late. But as soon as I went by him, and it was the middle of the night. It was like midnight when this happened, and there were no cars on the road. And the one great thing about getting hit with that speed trap is I knew in my heart that was the only speed trap I was going to find in Iowa. He's out there patrolling late. He's probably got a huge sector, so I knew I was green lighted from there, and I wound that car up as tight as a drum and left it there and just had the road to myself. And this driving in this darkness right here reminds me of it. And every once in a while I'd pass a truck, and I had a CV in it, and the truck would come up and say something because they could see my antenna, and they would comment. I say, yeah, I'm blessed. I got things to do, place to go, things to do. And they're like, it's cool, it's cool. And I was calling up ahead, asking, because I'm heading westbound, and I'm asking drivers going eastbound. And the phrase they use in the trucking world is a back door open or close. Greetings from, man, it's hard to read, the nation, Navajo Nation? Oh, right on. Navajo Nation, really? Like, what part of, what state is that in, out of curiosity? But a trucker expression is back door open or closed, meaning are there any police behind you? And I didn't get a response the first time I asked, and then finally somebody piped up and said, hey, no, back door's open, there's nothing out here, and I thanked them. And I kept that car pinned all the way through Iowa. I had stopped for gas during the Cannonball. Arizona, right on. I like Arizona. I got a buddy who lives in Glendale. But I stopped. The Cannonball drive is from Lower Manhattan Island to Redondo Beach, which is Los Angeles, California. And the total distance was 2,825 miles. Hold on here. I'm trying to read this. Oh, the Four Corners there. I've been there. You sound like a liberal. I'm about as far from a liberal as you can get. Yeah, I'm pretty hard right. Yeah, I've actually been to the Four Corners there. I'm originally from Colorado, ironically. Yeah, I've been hardcore dry. I don't like to talk politics on here because it alienates people, but I mean, it's just applying common sense. And again, to get off topic, people ask me in the simplest terms, what's the difference between a liberal and a conservative? I said, liberals have a fantasy world they want to bring into being, which is not going to happen. And conservatives just look at the world the way it is and deal with it and just do the best they can with the realities of what's going on. I mean, that's the simplest way to sit back and go, gee, if just everybody would fill the blank, everything would be great. Well, that's not how the world goes around. That's not how the world goes around. You just have to deal with what's going on. That's the simplest thing. I sound like a liberal. Why would you even say? Safe travels. All right, cool. Thanks. Right this very second, I got stuck this weekend in Waterloo, Iowa, the party capital of the Midwest, dropping off some pallets at the John Deere factory here in. I got there midday Saturday. Oh, thanks, Morgan. We've got to go back down. And I pull up to the gate and I get the little speaker box, and this guy goes, "Oh, we don't unload trucks on the weekend." Oh, that's just awesome. So I was stuck here Saturday until tonight because the third shift comes in at like 9 o'clock at night. Hello here from Oklahoma. I like Oklahoma. I currently live in Texas, but I like Oklahoma. Been through there a bunch of times. Yeah, what is that? It goes through there? 40? I think 40 goes through there. That's one of two Cannonball. I'm back. Holy crap. I'm back. Holy crap. I guess there's a one downside to being in the middle of nowhere is you lose reception. Where am I supposed to stop? Oh, I'm getting out of the area I was in. There's not enough population. There's not enough population in Waterloo for what I do for this kind of work. So I'm going to Dubuque, and there's a truck stop there I'm going to go hide at tonight, which puts me in position to get a load out of Wisconsin, hopefully tomorrow. So I'm just booking up here because there's no outbound cargo out of Waterloo to speak of, and I spent the day laying around at a truck stop, and there was a bunch of vans. And you can't have a whole bunch of vans waiting to go somewhere when there's nothing leaving that area. This is kind of Siberia. So I'm going over by the Wisconsin border, Dubuque, Iowa, and I'm going to hide out there and see if they can get some out of possibly Green Bay or something up north, because I've gone some loads up there. All the cargo for Expediting comes out of the northeast part of the United States, so this is a little off the beaten path. Morning. Cool. Currently empty. I'm getting 22 miles per gallon out of this van, which is not bad for a 3.5 horsepower van. It's an aerodynamic brick. We've seen one hit so far tonight. So they are out here. Like I said, I would be playing music right now, but I can't convince my phone to play music and live stream at the same time. Just won't do it. And then, of course, they'll probably yell at me if I try. I shot a video back in 22. My wife and I were in Cleveland, and we went to USS Cod. It's a World War II submarine. And I walked around and filmed, and it's on it's one of my playlists called The Scenic Route or Vacation or both. I don't know. I put on both. And we're walking around in the sub filming, and somewhere in the background you can hear 1940s music playing. I don't even know where it was coming from. And YouTube got mad at me for it, for playing unlicensed music. And I'm like, I don't even know what that was. But they got mad at me. So there's some list of music you can play. I just don't know what it is, and I don't even know how to find it. The one great advantage of being up this far north is it's cooler. As you get down south, and it starts getting hot and sticky. Blah. I have some notes I wrote to myself about stuff going on in the world. And one is that flood, all that flooding and the deaths that happened in Texas. And one of the things, because I used to fly a helicopter in the Gulf of Mexico, and people always talk about, here comes the weather. Well, the question is, where's the weather coming from? And it starts, a lot of the weather that comes up here starts in the Gulf of Mexico. And basically there's a monkey out there with a grind box creating it from moisture and jet streams and all kinds of weird stuff, because I've been flying along out there and had the weather just slam shut on top of us. Well, the storms beach in Texas, Louisiana, somewhere along there, and they dump 10 jillion gallons of water, and then it drifts to the northeast usually, up into the other, eastern side of the United States. And if it drops enough water to cause flooding, imagine what happens when it goes up to the northeast and drops a whole bunch more water, which promptly gets into the rivers and flows downhill back to Texas and Louisiana. So it just doubles the problem. So this flooding stuff that happened in Kerrville, and that's about 300 miles from where I live, happened in an area that's low-lying where a bunch of rivers come together. Ironically, my wife, when she was 13 years old, went to either the camp that happened at or one right down the street from it. She looked on a map and she said it was right there. And ironically, it flooded when she was there, and she said she spent 2 days sitting on a rooftop with a couple other people waiting for someone to come get them. So that's just a dangerous area. And then you have to ask, do they have an evacuation plan? Do they have it may flood, what are you going to do plan? And I would like to say yes, but I also flew, as a pilot, I flew the Katrina piece, and FEMA told the city of New Orleans, which is ground zero for flooding, you need to have an evacuation plan, and FEMA handed them a generic one that said, here, this is kind of what we want, the format. And they said, okay, that's fine. They threw it on the shelf and left it there. Because nobody wants to really pay attention to that stuff, apparently. What's it say? I live next to Kennedy Space Center in Florida, and then storms are hard to predict. Oh, yeah, I agree. I remember flying offshore. This is before we had onboard weather radar. This is back in the day, way back in the day. You could call our dispatch, and I go, hey, what's going on? I see stuff brewing in front of me, and I call them on radio, and I go, what's going on out here? And they go, oh, there's nothing. I tell them where I'm. I said, no, seriously, to myself, what is that doing? And they go, there's nothing there. I go, okay, and all of a sudden this black line appears in front of me, this nasty black wall, and I landed on a platform, a little tiny platform, unmanned, and I shut the aircraft down, tied the blades down, tied the aircraft to the deck, and this squall line of nastiness drove over top of the aircraft, and little pea-sized pieces of hail were bouncing off the airframe and bouncing off the window. And I called the dispatch back and I said, hey, what's the weather showing? They go, oh, there's nothing, it's clear. What's that noise? I said, that's the nothing bouncing off the aircraft while I sit here on a deck. And she goes, I don't know what you're talking about, let me refresh it. She's like, oh, hell, that looks bad. I said, yeah, you think? I mean, literally, the weather brews up so fast, you don't even get a warning for it. Yeah, but Florida, you're Grand Central for storms running over top of you. My grandfather, I'm trying to read this going down the road, and it's tiny print. My grandfather was a pilot, and he had many stories. Oh, yeah, war stories and pilots go hand in hand. Abso-freaking-lutely. And I flew, I was a helicopter pilot for 35 years, so I can start off with, back in my day. I can tell you this, I went to flight school in 1989 and 90, the Army, and I was one step removed from the last flight class that flew the old Cobra attack helicopter. Remember those? Yeah, those from the Vietnam War. They were no longer used as attack birds. They were used as, we were part of I was in the air cavalry unit, so we were what they would call revenge weapons when the scout helicopters got shot down. But Yeah, the weather can get weird, and the flooding gets weird. And since I've lived in Texas 25 years, and we've had a couple of really good floods in downtown. And we had one, it was Tropical Storm Allison. I think it was in 2001, and prior to Katrina happening in '05, it was classified as the biggest flooding of a metropolitan ever. And it was bad. Let me slow down here a little bit. Okay, I'm not reading, I have to drive here. It's kind of a skinny road. Okay, it's awesome. Must be nice to settle down on the ground. Yeah, I did. Like I said, I flew for 35 years, and as of last November, the flight surgeons said, I don't like what I'm seeing, so I don't get to fly anymore. I was trying to get to retirement age, which is going to be for me 62, and I'm 56. I turn 57 next month, so I got to keep generating revenue here for a few more years. So I decided to get into this. Expediting is lazy work. Truck driving I have a CDL. Truck driving like this guy we're passing, you can make money doing it, and there's jobs out there, but there's a lot of regulation. There's a lot of governmental garbage that goes on with that. Those trucks are expensive to buy and expensive to maintain and expensive to insure. It's also hard to find parking. There's just a bunch of little things that make truck driving annoying. And if you're ever interested in this is called expediting. It's kind of the same job but in a van, which is cheap to own, cheap to insure, cheap to drive, and I can take it to the grocery store. And I can park anywhere. It says $7.50 a load. Expensive, but the loads, it's different. Every load is different. They pay different. It depends on what you're carrying, where you're carrying it. I would say your average distance, and this is a moving target, you move like 300 miles, but if you're moving a really short one, like 100 miles, 120, they actually pay more per mile on the short ones because people just don't want to mess with them because you're kind of tied up for the day and you're only making a teeny bit of money. So, it just depends on what you're carrying or where you're going. This van is good for 3,000 pounds of weight, and I've carried 2,900 pounds in here, loads, and I've carried a load the size of a pack of cigarettes before. I've carried an envelope. I don't know why they want a van to deliver an envelope, but they had something they wanted hand delivered. I drove one time when he drives Texas to New Jersey. Yeah, that's has he got a dedicated route? And what's he driving? Is he in a truck or a big truck or a van? Or what's he driving? But one of the stranger loads I ever picked up was in New Jersey. No, wait a minute, that was Washington, D.C., a suburb of Washington, D.C. I drove into a really nice residential neighborhood, picked up a box off somebody's porch that wasn't even there, and I drove it to Ohio somewhere, direct, in the middle of the night, to a nuclear power plant, and a bunch of these nerds came out. A semi-truck, okay, so he's got a dedicated run. That's cool. That's hard to find, but that's good if you get a dedicated run. And these office nerds, these geeky guys came out, grabbed the box, I have no idea what was in it, opened the box, they all cheered hooray, and then ran inside with the box. And they were happy. I don't even know what was in it. I was like, oh, well, I guess, comic books. No idea. What's this guy going to do? Okay, what lane are you in? You're in my lane. Okay, hold on a sec. Let's see what this guy... I pulled into a secure plant once, and they had me get out of the van and the person wiped a wand over me, and then I got back in the van, and I'm thinking, you didn't look in the truck. I got a bazooka on the ground here and 10 Al-Qaeda in the back of the van, but you put a wand over me. You bought a truck on Craigslist. A company gives him the order when to go. Yeah, if you could find a dedicated route, you win. You just got to keep the truck moving, because there's going to be times you're not driving it. Those big trucks are expensive, the insurance. I own this van outright. I bought it. It's used. It's a secondhand van, but I paid cash for it, so I don't have a van note. And one of the weirdo things about commercial driving, which I find insanely annoying, is you have to have two policies. One policy when you're empty and one policy when you're loaded. Ain't that grand? I pay $229 a month for empty driving, and the company I operate under their motor carrier certificate pays the loaded. I know it's more than that. I don't know how much it is, but it's more than that. So that's what makes driving so incredibly expensive. Helped him pass the CDL, first part, distance. Yeah, okay. Well, you got to watch out a little bit for that. There's a turnover in trucking, because it takes people a little while to learn that everybody's reaching into the pot, taking a piece of that money, and the last person that gets paid is the guy doing the work, the person that's actually driving, and it's kind of a lousy situation. But when they encourage somebody to buy their own vehicle, because companies don't want to own vehicles, because when you're driving, you're making money, and the company that you're driving for makes money. When you're not driving, you're losing your ass. But the company you drive for, they're not making any money, but they're not losing any money. See what I mean? There was a time when these big companies owned the trucks, and then the drivers would drive for them, but nowadays a lot of them don't want to have the liability. So they let you pay for the truck, and you pay for the maintenance, and you pay for all that, and we'll try to keep you loaded, but if we can't, oh well. See what I mean? That's something you got to watch out for in this industry. Van lines during summer, that's cool. Yeah, working for loading and unloading and whatnot. Oh, and there's slow times in trucking, like January, February, everybody's in a rush to get to the Christmas holidays, and then January, February, cargo backs off. People aren't making big purchases and stuff, and it slows down. And then just this last week, they said, oh yeah, the week of the 4th of July week, for that 2-week period around there, a lot of the car companies shut down because they're retooling their plants for next year's model. They've got enough cars to finish off the year, and now they're making next year's stuff. So nobody's doing anything, and I didn't know that when I came back to work this time. Yeah, moving companies. Charlotte to Atlanta. Yeah, moving companies. That's cool. Yeah, that's an industry. I've moved, of course, a million times, but I've never actually used a moving company. I've always done the self-move routine. I've got my wife and I, we have a townhouse. We've lived in it 12 years we've lived in it. Bought and paid for, remodeled. We ain't going anywhere anytime soon. I like not having a house payment. To Virginia. Work for one. That's cool. That's cool. I'm a little too old to work as a mover or a loader. I've banged up my knees playing Army, and they don't work as well as they used to. That's one thing about getting older, is you start paying closer attention to your body, starts talking to you, and the things you, quote, used to could, you can't do anymore. And you have to start acknowledging them. Oh, thanks, Mr. Steven. There are crazy people out there. I would be one of those. Yeah, I like it up here. There's not a lot of, like I said, it's kind of light on traffic and light on population up in this area. Oh, you want to talk about dangerous people on the road? Okay, think about this. Look at the view out the front of my vehicle on this camera. You see what we're looking at? Now, where that dotted white line is next to us, my first week on the job when I got back into this in March, I had a guy try to do an insurance scam on me. I was driving south out of Detroit going straight to Toledo. My cruise, I'm going this speed. I'm going 60. I'm not in a hurry. There's not a car within a mile of me either direction. And all of a sudden, on the white line, cutting in front of me, I see a car mag wheel. Okay, you see this view in front of us? This guy was trying to get hit by me. So he's cutting in front of me. He turned the steering wheel to the right. He's underneath my headlights. See this view right here? I can see about 3 inches underneath his door handle and the rest of the car is gone. And he's sideways in front of me. Now, had he popped the brakes, I would have smashed him to pieces. But what he did was he turned into me, which caused the ass end of his car to spin out. And he went right around the front of the car and slammed into the guardrail. We never made contact. Yeah, that was my first week on the job. And that was the week I didn't have my dash camera. It didn't show up in the mail, but that would have been the greatest hits of dash cams. To have someone that, honest to God, there couldn't have been a foot between the side of his car and the front of my van while he's going sideways. Oh, it's not a matter of it being his fault. It was intentional. The guy didn't have his headlights turned on. He literally snuck up behind me with his headlights, went to pass, and then swerved into me. It was gonna say, oh, this guy crashed into me, commercial vehicle. Oh, get one of the get-rich-quick lawyers. And so this guy rolls around the front of my car, slams into the wall, and then out of my left eye, I see another set of headlights suddenly appear. Poof! There's a guy in front of me in the left lane, flipped his headlights on, because he was running dark too. That was his buddy that was going to be the witness. But the fact that he missed me and hit the wall, and I didn't stop. I didn't pull over. Nope, sorry. Have a nice day. His car kind of swerved around, and then he took off. I mean, he floored it and ran away. So basically, the guy destroyed his own vehicle in an attempt to do an insurance scam, which wouldn't have worked because I've got tracking equipment, and it'll show I was driving in a straight line, and I think what they were going to try to say was I came down the on-ramp because he was trying to get his right front end to hit the left front end of my vehicle. He was going to slam into me and say, oh yeah, I saw him come down the on-ramp, and you're going to have to witness all that stuff. They also get drunk, sleepy, etc., and follow close. Oh yeah, but this was intentional. There's no reason for you to be driving at 10 o'clock at night with your headlights off and then cutting in front of a vehicle. And I mean close. That guy was trying to get in an accident, and they go, oh yeah, hit a commercial vehicle, but a big truck, you hit a big truck, you're going to die. So the guy said, oh, we'll find a smaller vehicle, make it, don't want to get hurt, but I want to make it a good commercial vehicle to hit. Yeah, that's what people are doing. They don't. I've seen and heard about it happening in Texas. People try to get in a car accident so they can play the but everybody's got dash cameras out. By the way, don't ever try to get in a wreck with a big commercial vehicle. They have cameras. Bare minimum, they have a camera on the front. A lot of these carriers have them on the side. If you look real close, it looks like a turn signal. They got cameras. Don't waste your time doing that. It isn't worth it anyway. We had a woman in our town, and she was telling everybody she wanted to get in a car accident. Oh, I'm going to force a wreck on, and then she ended up getting in one, and she didn't make it. And it's not worth it. I have yeah, it's bizarre. No, I don't follow close. That's what I'm saying. I'm going 60 miles an hour right now. It's 65 through here. My normal cruising speed is 62. And I keep my vehicle going slow because I let the momentum go past me, basically. I don't stick with cars. I let cars just go on by and do whatever they want to do. So in a wide open space, I go 62 because I get really good gas mileage now. I got up here in the turn. I got to find the turn. Okay, I'm coming up on my get off up here. There's a gas station slash truck stop up here. It's going to be on the right side, and that's where I was going to go hide out. Oh, I agree. You know, back in the day, I don't know how old you are, but back in the day, drunk driving was a thing. And the drunk driving population has kind of faded somewhat, but now it's everybody playing with their phones. And that's even more dangerous because it's not that they're having a slow reaction, they're not even looking. Lot lizards, you know what? There are videos of lot lizards all over the place on YouTube. I mean, literally everywhere, but I think it's out in California because I've actually looked for lot lizards, and I've only seen one ever, and she was negotiating with a dude in a van, like what I do, and the dude in the van, from what I could see, weighed about 600 pounds, and this woman was standing out there, and based on her body language, I said, oh, that's a lot lizard. And I made a point of going for a walk and walking by them and listening to the conversation. And this, how would I describe her? Less than attractive woman was negotiating and talking about all the awesomeness that she was going to bring to the table. And I'm going, no, you're not. No, you're not. 62. Steve, I'm jealous. That's where I'm trying to get. 62. 62 in 5 minutes and I'm retired. And the wife is exactly 6 days older than me, which makes it real convenient. The old lady, if you will. They're at the diners. Because I run gas and I don't run diesel, I'm kind of restricted to Pilot Flying J, and the only restaurants they're having there's fast food restaurants, and they're not that big. But there's Denny's every once in a while. They'll have a Denny's restaurant, but I've never seen them in there, to be honest with you. I've never noticed them. I thought that from the videos on YouTube, it looks like they're walking around the parking lots. But again, that's California. And I've only been to California once. That was my best load. It was Niagara Falls to Los Angeles. And I got to follow the Cannonball route. 80 up over the mountains and up over the Rockies. That was a great drive. Now up here, there's supposed to be a truck stop. And if not, I got to go across into Wisconsin, and there's a rest area. All right, let's see what's happening here. Yeah, right up here it's supposed to be on the right. Oh, is that it? Let's say Highway 20, that's it. That's it. Let me see here. I'm going to pull in and see if this is the one. You got to hole up at a truck stop or a rest area. There's a few other sneaky places you can hide. And being that I'm coming out of aviation, Dio gracias. Being that I'm coming out of aviation, I know a sneaky way to get good service at an airport. I scout out. You can Google wherever what's CB talk like nowadays. I can tell you it's just about non-existent. The this radio's been on the whole time. Listen, I'll squelch it. Hear that? Not a peep. There are not many trucks out here, but the radios are really, 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 really quiet these days. I'm gonna guess I have to go this way to get there. And if something happens, they light up like a Christmas tree. But just driving around, they're basically dead. Which is, that's what, let me see. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once here. I'm trying to get to this truck stop. I don't know how to get there. Let me try this. Is this the back way in? I hope. just kind of scouting this. What is that? What is that? Oh, it's good. Alrighty. I'm here. Yeah, dirt road. Yeah, this, oh crap. High beams are still on. Whoops. I'll whip a U-turn here. Jeez. Back. Trucks are parked over here, and I am gonna basically pretend I'm a truck. See? That's me. Not really. Well, I don't like this hill. This is too steep. Oh, here we go. I see vans. Okay, hold on. Yeah, that's too much of a slope right there. Wow, that's like roll out of your bunk slope. Let me see what I can find over here. Yeah, this place is really quiet. What does that say? Old Dutch. Oh, there's a van on my right, but he's... Yeah, I'm going to park over here by this. Here we go. Hola. Well, these are doors, so that's not going to work. Yeah, there's other truckers over here. All right. Keep seeing these little birds running around here. All right, back it in. Tell you what, these backup cameras will make you lazy. Hold on a second. I can't see what you're doing here because I'm trying to back up. A little bit more. Okay, hold on. I am here. Okay, I can catch up. Back, yes it is. Creepy, a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. There could be a lot lizard, dude. This could be a ghost town is what this could be. I mean, this is only... I'm gonna get out and do a little survey of the situation because this place is looking a little sketchy, but this is literally the only thing in this town except for a rest area on the other side of the border, about, I don't know, 10 miles from here. Oh my God. All right, I'm gonna end this here. I gotta go do a little patrolling to make sure I'm not gonna get killed by a serial killer, or maybe I'll turn into a serial killer. I don't know. Give this town some excitement. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Take care.